So I did engineering from Dissecting, Goa. I studied electronics and instrumentation engineering. I did a 4-year course from 2016 to 2020, and after that I've been working in JP Morgan. So I think knowing about the meaning-based approach to SC questions really helped me. It made me realize how to approach SC questions, and I also sort of noticed that I was able to get questions from everywhere right. I think after that it was just a game of the mind for me. I first of all, in my first few mocks, my timing strategy was not very correct. If you remember, we had to discuss it later, and I had to deliberately apply those strategies. What my recommendations would be that you have an honest look at yourself and don't put too much pressure on yourself.
So a warm welcome to everybody who's watching this success interview. With me, I have Parul Verma, who recently scored a massive GMAT 760 after a lot of hard work, dedication, diligence, a lot of roadblocks on the way. But she was always motivated and she kept working hard. She kept banging the wall and the doors of success. And she's finally here with a 760. And that's not all. She also scored a Q50, which is a brilliant Quant score, and a massive B44. And she has worked her way through to reach this point, and she's here to share her journey, all the roadblocks, all the hurdles, her learnings, some good decisions, some bad decisions probably, and her test day strategies as well, so that you who are maybe stuck somewhere in the middle of the journey or are planning to begin your journey, your GMAT journey, you will get a lot of this interview with Parul. Parul, welcome to this interview and thank you so much for doing this. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dhruv. I'm really excited to be here and share snippets of my journey with everybody, with the hope that people who are stuck in the same place or going through the same things might take help from me.
Absolutely. So Parul, your journey was a very long one. You started with a 730 without even, this is pre-e-GMAT journey. You started at a 730 and then you thought you needed some improvement. You were aiming for a 750 probably, and you joined us and your first Sigma mock score was a 700. So that was a different journey altogether. Then came another attempt, the 740, and then we had a 760. So this has been a long journey. How did you keep yourself motivated to sustain that, motivation level for such a long time? Because that's something that sometimes you feel that, what, is better I leave it now. But what kept you going?
Yeah, sure. So I think you're right. It was a very long journey for me. So when I started off, I took an official GMAT from the official GMAT website and I scored a 720. So I realized that my base was good. And then I took my 730 attempt. After that, I contacted e-GMAT and we took another attempt within 2 weeks and I got a 740. And then I realized that I was sort of plateauing at Q49. So I realized that I have to study further. And what motivated me was I am naturally gritty as a person, I feel. And because I sort of knew that a 750 plus, that is what kept me going. I knew that I could achieve that score and that would greatly help me later on. I think these two things and my natural inclination, all of these things sort of just kept me going.
Right.
And also your mentorship and your encouragement. That's really important. Yeah.
Our encouragement becomes a little easy when we have people like you who we know are pretty gritty, are hardworking. And Parul, trust me when I say this, you are one of the most hardworking students I've seen in my journey as well. Because, as I said, to keep banging that door after every time you fall, it takes a lot. It speaks a lot about your character, and I'm sure a lot of people out there will learn from you. And to just make you feel a little more special, you are my first female student who has come on this interview.
Oh, that's...
Yes. So your interview is going to be really memorable for me, because I'm sure you know that the first things are always etched in your memory. So this makes this interview even more special for me. All right. So Parul, a very stupid question, but I think this should be a question to ask. I know you did give me a call, and I know you were going through a lot of emotions when you saw that 760. But just for the viewers, now when you just look back a few weeks back when you scored a 760, what were your first reactions? What came to your mind? What was going on? Just take us through that little journey.
So I was really, really relieved. I was very happy. Because this was sort of like my I had achieved this score after multiple attempts, so I had
Right.
sort of not expected this. I was not setting myself up for disappointment. I
Mm.
was like, I am not going to expect a lot of things. So when that 760 finally flashed on that screen, I was really happy. I just wanted to cry, to go and cry somewhere, and I think I told you that as well.
Yes. Right. And then I remember I told you, okay, Parul, just take a moment, go somewhere, let things out, because it's a lot of hard work. It was a long journey, So I'm glad that you were relieved. I'm glad that you were excited, and I'm glad that you had a run of emotions as well, because it is important to enjoy every moment, even if
Right.
it's something that is depressing. It's important to live it so that you know how it feels. And of course, happiness is something that should not leave. That's something that you should live to the fullest. So, all right. Now, before we dive into your journey, Parul, uh, just help our viewers with a bit of your background, whatever you believe is relevant. So just take us through your background as well.
Sure. So I did engineering from BITS Pilani, Goa. I studied
Okay.
electronics and instrumentation engineering. I did a 4-year course from 2016 to 2020. And after
Okay.
that, I've been working in JP Morgan. So I worked as a software engineer for the first 2 years. And
Right.
currently I'm working in ML engineering right now.
All
So you
right.
can see that my quant has been pretty strong. And
Hmm.
because I've like had a focus on English initially also. I was
Right.
pretty good with verbal also like, from a
Right.
starting level. Yeah.
Right. Right. So, uh, graduated from BITS Pilani, was working with JP Morgan. I believe the career was going fine. It's still going fine. You're doing really well for yourself. How did you stumble upon the idea of taking the GMAT? Because I'm assuming that, of course, you're planning for an MBA, right? I'm sure you've applied also since you had a deadline. So why MBA and then why GMAT? Because there are different ways and avenues to take and to go through to reach the MBA stage. So why MBA and then why GMAT?
Yeah, so I think there were like it's a combination of pivot points in my life.
Mhm.
I sort of realized that technology can make a lot of impact, and I sort of wanted to even broaden my scope,
Right,
learn more skills. I also want to go abroad, get a global experience,
right.
like learn from a very diverse international audience,
Mm.
and yeah, and I basically contribute in a bigger space through multiple skill sets. So an MBA from abroad seemed like a very good next step for me.
Right,
The perfect bridge between what I aspire to and where I am right now. And a GMAT is a crucial component of your profile when you're applying. So I wanted a competitive score on it to help my profile stand out.
right.
That's why GMAT.
Okay, okay. So you mentioned that you had already taken an attempt before joining e-GMAT and you scored a 730, right?
Hmm.
Uh, could you just help the viewers understand as to how did you do it by your own self? Because honestly, I haven't come across anybody who scored a 730 doing things on his or her own. So all the materials that you use, whatever you did to just score a 730 that helped you score a 730, just help us through that as well.
Sure. So, like I said, I think the first thing you should do is take an official mock on the GMAC website. So, I knew what my starting score was. It was a
Right,
720. And then I had to work my way from up there. So,
right,
I mostly used GMAT official guides and I took the second mock test also before I took the exam. So, I had gotten a 740. I was
okay,
honestly expecting a greater than 750. Um, but yeah, I mostly studied from the official guides and I just took the official tests. And then I was
okay,
able to get 730. Yeah.
right, right, okay. So now if we just go a little further, so you scored a 730, and I'm sure now you wanted to propel that score to a 750 plus score, and you would have been on a hunt to look for a test prep company that suits your needs. So how did you, the research that you would have done, and how did you end up at e-GMAT? What did you believe that e-GMAT had that would really benefit you and help you reach that 750 plus score?
Yeah. So one thing I would like to say is that a 700 plus score is a really good score. So I sort of knew that I had the ability, which was also a motivating factor for me to target for 750 plus, because I knew that I could do it, right? So I did not want to think later down the line that I did not do everything that I could in my power to sort of like achieve my target score.
Right.
So after my 730 attempt, I came back, I ordered an enhanced score report to see where all I was faltering and where all I was going wrong. And then I realized that I needed more help. I needed more strategic guidance. I needed help from people who were already in the field and who had seen a lot of things, who knew the GMAT on a greater level than I did. So then I started looking at different companies. I read up a lot of posts on GMAT Club.
Right.
I went through a lot of Google articles. I saw a lot of reviews that people had posted. I think the e-GMAT blogs were really helpful because I found a few people who were in the same position as I was, and then they were able to sort of guide through their interviews what they exactly did. And I liked the format that e-GMAT had. I liked their AI powered content.
Right.
So I was sort of getting a Q49, and I knew that I was able to, I knew that I could get more than that. So I wanted somebody with who would help me focus on my quant part and would help me enhance my verbal part.
Right.
So then I decided I needed to take mock tests. So I think I took my first Sigma X mock, which was free, which is free for people. So I got a 700 over there, and then I went through the modules that are freely available, and I liked the course content. I liked the way things were told to me. So then I scheduled a call with you guys.
Okay. Okay, so that's how you ended up coming to us. And I remember that you reached out to us and we got in touch, and we had only 10 days to your next attempt, right?
Yeah.
So we majorly worked on the verbal part, I believe, because we weren't able to work on the quant part. Also, we were a little confident that you would pull through because quant was your strength anyway. But I think those 10 days of verbal also gave us some results because that attempt was a 740, right?
Yeah.
So just tell us what went right in those 10 days that you scored a 740, and then we'll come to what went wrong as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I thought my quant was good because I was coming from a very quant intensive background, and I was also working in a very quant intensive field at that point of time. So I thought that it might have just been like a test play jitter thing for me to get Q49. And I had a V39 in my 730 attempt. And it was a very rushed period also because I was planning a trip abroad with my friends. So I also sort of squeezed that in between. And like you mentioned, we just had 10 days of effort that I could actually put in before my next attempt. So so you helped me analyze things a lot. You went through my ESR, we went through it together, and then we realized that these were the blockers that were sort of stopping me from reaching my dream goal. And you also said that verbal needs a lot of improvement, and there is a lot of scope over there for improvement. And I think one thing people should know is that your verbal marks plays a huge role in your in the target score that you finally get in your final score. It has like a great weightage, right? Because the percentile varies a lot. So from a V39 to a V42, it sort of really propelled my individual verbal percentile also up. And I think that was the strategy to increase my verbal score so that my actual GMAT score could increase further.
Right. Yeah. Also, I mean, a 3-point improvement in verbal within 10 days did speak a lot about your abilities. And I was always telling myself, I wish Parul could give me 10 more days and we could have worked through Quant as well. And but you can always look back in the hindsight and think about things that way. But any regrets that you rushed a little to do the 740 attempt, or maybe if you could have spent 10-15 days more, worked on quants a little bit, you would have achieved the 750 plus score at that very attempt itself. and then
Yeah,
anything like
I
that.
think so. I think you're very right over here. I think I should have listened to you and rescheduled my exam. But I was just so confident that that quant score was just like a test day thing, and
Right,
I would get a Q50 or a Q51 in my next attempt for sure. I think I just sort of went ahead with it.
right,
But yeah, I would like suggest that having a very honest look at your ability and also factoring into the fact that even though you might have that ability, the test based strategy and how you put it into application for the
yes,
GMAT, because the GMAT is like a very it's a really good exam. It's a you need to prepare well for it. You need to strategize well for it. It's not just enough to have ability, but it's also important to sort of like put it in the right direction and approach it with the right mindset.
right,
So I think I should have listened to you and taken those 10 days extra. Yeah,
right, right. Because after that, I believe it took us another 2, 3 months because I think you
yeah,
were pretty busy with your work as well, and you
yeah.
couldn't give a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. So after that, quarter one was a bit busy, and I was also sort of very like because I'd been preparing for the GMAT by myself for the past 2 3 months, and then this rushed attempt. So I sort of wanted to like take off a bit and relax,
Right,
and then take things from the start. And I decided that because I have time right now, I'll just
right,
take things slowly and plan well this time.
right. So I would just like to highlight certain things that the GMAT aspirants can learn from these instances here. One is, of course, we always say this to all the students, but very few of them listen to us, and we say that don't book the test in advance. Become GMAT ready completely, and then go for the attempt, because it is not just about the money that you put in; it's also about the time that you put in, the confidence. Because a low score can actually hamper your confidence, and that may have its own effects later. So that's one learning that people can learn from this. And the second learning that people should learn is that after Parul came back from the 740 attempt, she took a break. She came back. She, her introspection qualities, I think, are really good, because when she came back, she did not come back with the same pompousness of, what, I have a 740, I just need 10 points, I won't do everything. And even I wouldn't have suggested her to do everything. But I think that 740 score and the introspection, I think, humbled her completely. And this time she came back with, the attitude that this time I will not leave any stone unturned. I'll go through everything. If that is what it takes, I'll do it. Forget the 740 score on the last attempt. I will go through every file. I'll take every quiz. And Parul is one of those students who followed everything that I told her to the T. She did not do anything more or less than what was recommended, whether it was taking quizzes, whether it was going through files. So, when you surrender yourself to somebody and lay your faith in the process, these are the kinds of results you get. And that's something that everybody should learn, because I have a lot of students, Parul, who are at a 670, 650, a decent ability, but still don't want to go through the things that we recommend, because they have their own constraints, and I understand that. But then if you want a result like this is what you should do, right? That's what people should learn out of this. Superb. So the 740 attempt had happened, you went on a break, forget all of that. How was it?
It was great.
Where did you guys go?
We went to Vietnam.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a like I went with my girl group from college. So
Okay,
that was really nice. No
okay.
regrets over there.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Right. So after you came back with a fresh mind. We started doing things once again, probably not from complete scratch, but pretty much from scratch for somebody who's at a 740. Right. Uh, I also got you enrolled in the last mile push program, because I believed that, uh, of course, the ability is a different thing, but for the last mile push, what we look for is diligence, and
Hmm.
that was in abundance within you. Uh, so now that the journey started, actually, we went through SC, we went through CR, we went through RC. Let's dissect these journeys separately. So, what did you do for SC that led to further improvement from a V42 to a V44.
All right. Okay. So I think there are like certain ways to approach GMAT questions.
Right.
So in that introspection period, I also sort of went through a few questions on my own, and I realized that I was able to solve them, not in the recommended time, A.
Right.
And I didn't have like a very particular, or I did not know the way I could solve them. I just approached them with whatever was in my mind, and I just
Right.
sort of went through it. And it was mostly luck based. There was no like proper strategic way in which I approached them. So I think
Right.
knowing about the meaning based approach to SC questions really helped me. It
Right.
made me realize how to approach SC questions, and I also sort of noticed that I was able to get questions from everywhere right.
Right.
Even initially, I did not get it right in the recommended amount of time, but I just sort of realized that this is how you have to approach SC-based questions, and that really helped me speed up later and get
Right.
more accuracy in SC.
Right. Right. Okay. So were you following the meaning-based process to the T, or was there anything else, any other tricks also that you developed during the process?
Yeah, sure. So once I knew that, I think most of my journey has been about also developing the mindset. It's been sort of unlearning things and then like just powering my mind to do it. So
Yeah.
even though I would follow the meaning-based approach, at times I would just feel ki this is an easy sentence. I would just think in my mind, this is an easy sentence, so I should get it. So I would just like
Okay.
drop the meaning-based approach and try to mark
Okay.
whatever I wanted to. So the building a discipline also to always apply the meaning-based approach helped me, and that took more time. But I think before my 760 attempt, I was able to apply the meaning-based approach in the
Yes.
recommended amount of time
Hmm.
very well and very diligently.
Yes. Yes. You were flawless during the mock stages. Uh, were you always good with critical reasoning, or did it come naturally to you, or that was also a struggle? SC, I think you were pretty comfortable because you were always good with the language. CR, but is
Yeah,
a different proposition altogether.
yes. CR is sort of logic using
Yeah.
English. So first of all, I wasn't even able to understand what the CR passages entail. Again, I
Right.
was just approaching it with a blind mindset. I was like, this is what if I just approached GMAT, I think, with a very blind mindset, first of all. It was mostly luck based, and because I was good with English, I would get hits maybe say 70-80% of the time, but I would
Right.
not recommend this strategy to anybody. I would
Right.
suggest figure out what the strategy to the question is, you figure out what the questions comprise of. So going through the module, categ- uh, going through the different categorizations of questions, CR questions, strengthen and weaken, assumption, what the
Right.
GMAT expects you to do on them. That is very useful. That was very helpful. I got all of that from the e-GMAT module. And then I went through most of the questions. And once I was able to figure out how to approach them,
Right.
I improved my CR a lot.
Right. And then by the end of the prep, I think the CR processes were also coming instinctively to you.
Sorry?
By the end of the journey, when you reach the mock stages, the CR process, the pre-thinking process, was that also coming pretty naturally to you, because it would reflect in the mock attempts as well that you were taking pretty less
Oh,
time
yes.
to answer CR as well.
Oh, yes, the pre-thinking approach really helped a lot. It sort of helped me dissect the question, which is very important. It helped me understand what the question is asking. It gave me ways to figure out answers, eliminate answers, which is again
Right.
very important in GMAT. In
Right.
GMAT. So yeah, so the pre-thinking process really helped me. It was also new to me when I started studying critical
Right.
reasoning from the e-GMAT course. And that really helped a lot. It speeded up my process and again helped me answer questions accurately within the recommended amount of time.
Right. RC was always a strength, I believe.
Yeah,
Right.
I have loved reading, so going through the passages was really easy for me.
Right.
I think summarization and a few other points that the e-GMAT course focused on that helped a lot in
Okay.
speeding up the process.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That added maybe a few more things to your skills, which were already great. do you advise that one needs to be a voracious reader to excel in RC, or even strategizing the RC passages will also help?
I think strategizing the RC passages would help
Okay.
a lot. Even if you are a voracious reader, if you don't understand how GMAT treats RC, you might like get beaten by the time, or you might
Yeah.
get overwhelmed with all the questions that are there to answer. So I
Right.
would always recommend having a very solid and good strategy before you approach before you actually take the GMAT verbal.
Mm. Right. Uh, remember, verbal was kind of a pretty smooth sail. A few roadblocks here and there, process related, because you, what was difficult for you was to first unlearn, because whatever you had learned before, that led to a 730. To then unlearn that particular strategy and then learning new things, that's a very difficult process also. So apart from the process roadblocks, I think you were doing pretty well on the verbal front. Coming to the quant front, I think you would have had some questions about your quant abilities after consistent Q49, despite being an engineer. And I come across this a lot, Parul. A lot of my students have been engineers, and after they finish verbal, when they go to quant, they're like, oh, I don't want to go through the entire quant because I'm an engineer. So that happens. But I think you had come back as a changed person, and even though pace recommended you to skip certain things, you still went through everything because you were determined this time. So apart from this determination and dedication and diligence, what else helped you reach Q50, something that you deserved?
Yes. Yeah, sure. So, like I said, I was plateauing at Q49, which I was not expecting, honestly. So, I looked at what I was doing wrong, and here the ESR also helped. And I
Right.
kind of realized after looking at other quant questions also, because I had done quant from the official GMAT
Right.
guides, and I was able to do it very well over there. I would get like 100% over there. I realized that I was getting overwhelmed
Right.
with the testing conditions, with the time, and
Hmm.
that sort of led me to forget my basic fundamentals, or I wasn't able to apply them properly,
Right.
even though I knew stuff. So even
Right.
though in the test condition I wasn't able to do that, and I realized that my quant skills need to be developed further. I need to sort of imprint the fundamentals into my mind and how to apply them. So that is why I went through all the questions. I went through all the modules because I found e-GMAT quant really good. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So
So
this time, of course, look, the quant section that we have is a pretty tedious one. It's vast, and
yes,
you had learned from your mistakes that this time, no matter what, I am not rushing. I'm doing everything correctly this time, so that then there are no regrets. You know?
right.
And you're going through things well. And I actually believe that quant was kind of a cakewalk, because you were just going through and sailing through the cementing quizzes, which are actually pretty challenging for many. But you just mentioned one thing right now. You said that quant was always good, but the testing conditions changed your approach. You would forget things. And this is another learning that people can get, especially those engineers, right, who are always confident about their quant abilities. But being confident is one thing, but to refine the processes and then applying it is a different thing. So
Right,
with
right.
your confidence and the ability, if you have your ability like Parul had, a Q49 will always be a cakewalk. But the point is that what you're aiming for?
I
If
just
that is what
wanted
you're
to
aiming for,
be
yeah,
on
go
a
ahead.
51. I wanted a Q50 or 51 because I felt that
Exactly.
is an accurate representation of my ability.
Exactly. So without doing anything, if you have an ability like Parul had, then a Q49 is what you deserve. But to go to a Q50, a Q51, process skills play a huge part. And then applying those processes in the testing conditions is also a different part, right? Parul, I always divide the entire GMAT journey into three parts. One is, of course, the prep part when you are going through the course, you're doing the cementing stages, etc., etc. The second part is a mock part. The mock journey, I believe it's a different journey altogether, because all that you've learned separately, individually, in those short quizzes, you're now supposed to put all of that in those, testing conditions, and it's all mixed out there and changing gears from an SC question to an RC passage, from an RC passage to a CR question. That is a different journey altogether. The third part of the journey is the test day itself, right? To put everything that you've done in the last 3-4 months in those 3 hours. That's a different challenge. Let's come to the second part of the journey, the mock journey. Now, you and I, both of us, are pretty confident that the mocks are going to be like, Parul is just going to, score 750s for fun. But that wasn't the case. There were 720s. I believe there were 730 or 740 also. Was there a 750, Parul, during the mocks?
I don't remember getting a 750 in Sigma X notes.
No,
And
you're right.
I was very sad about it also.
Yes. Right. So I remember getting on a call with you and discussing the mock strategy, where I asked you to be a little aggressive in the beginning. So that because you had medium and medium art questions, and people like you can easily tackle those and save a lot of time for the third and the fourth block, where you actually get hard questions. And when you have extra time there's no time pressure, and you can calmly apply the process. And you were doing that. Time management was fantastic. But you were somewhere getting hit on the accuracy front. What do you think were the issues that you were facing that were not allowing you to score a 750 on the mocks?
So I think after that it was just a game of the mind for me. Um, I first of all, in my first few mocks, my timing strategy was not very correct. If you remember, we had to
Yes.
discuss it later, and I had to deliberately apply those strategies. But I think one thing I also was doing was sort of trying to spend more time on my first set of questions to ensure that they're right. So sometimes I would just like double solve the questions to just uh, make myself like believe that yeah, fine, this is correct. Um, I was not able to translate the confidence that I had into the mocks.
Yes.
So I think talking to you over here really helped me a lot. Um, and that, and then also getting the timing strategy from e-GMAT, where they divided the questions into 4 blocks and sort
Right.
of decided this block should be done in this much time. I think that was very helpful because even on test day, I divided and I went through that way. I went through my questions that way only.
Right.
So I think that really helped me a lot.
I think after the first 2 mocks, where we discussed the time management strategies, I think after that you took 2 more mocks, I think 2 or 3 more mocks, and I think in those mocks, honestly, you did not need any strategic advice. All you needed somebody to tell you that, Parul, you're there.
Yeah.
No?
So yeah, very much so. So also at this point, when I was taking a mock stage, I took a lot of free mocks from different websites. I went through Manhattan mocks, Princeton mocks.
Right.
Basically, I was just like going through as many mocks as possible,
Right.
and I was getting really good scores over there also. And sometimes I would sort of fall down, and sometimes I would get really good scores. So
Right.
in the end, I also bought the 4 mock tests from the official GMAT website, and they were scoring really well. I think there was one exam, my mock test 4, where I got a 780, and I was very happy. But after that, I sort of did not do very well on the Sigma X mock.
Right.
So I thought about the things that were different, and I realized that I approached my previous GMAT official mock in a free or in a more relaxed mindset,
Right.
which was not an actual simulation of the GMAT exam
Right.
mindset or the conditions that I was in. So
True.
when I took my final mock just before the D-Day, I made sure everything was on point. I even lowered the AC down a bit to ensure that the testing conditions were like as
Yes.
accurate as possible, because I did not want to like I had
Right.
come so long and I just did not want to leave even the little things. I think I just sort of got
Right.
very, very particular about things. Maybe to the point of I don't know.
Yeah,
Too
you
much.
were striving for perfection. I mean, when you told me that, you know what, I even lowered the AC temperature, I was like, is she crazy? I mean, that level of simulation, that level of perfection that, you know what, but jokes apart, I believe this is what, helped you score a 760 because, uh, these small things, I believe they actually play a huge role. And I always tell my students every decision that you make on the journey has its impact, even if it's now I tell this, now I'll tell this, even if it's about lowering the AC temperature during the mocks,
I
even
mean,
that can have an impact. What do you say?
yeah, that does. I wouldn't recommend everybody doing like all of these things because I don't think it's needed. I think just because I was striving for so much perfection, I just put a lot of pressure on myself. So what my recommendations would be that you have an honest look at yourself and
Yeah,
don't put too much pressure on yourself. Approach it with a relaxed, calm mindset, but
right,
with full preparation and confidence in your abilities. And I think that will really help you tackle the GMAT and get a dream score.
right. Also, Parul, I believe the last couple of mocks, uh, where you were applying the timing strategies really well, one of the reasons why you were still not being able to score a 740 was probably because you were trying really hard to finish the first two blocks in the as soon as possible, and that was hampering our accuracy. And I remember after the last mock that you took, I think you scored a 720 on the Sigmax mock. We got on a
Yeah,
call, and then I had to give you an example that Parul, you are like uh, I think Virendra Sehwag from the Indian cricket team, who can make up for the lost time anytime when you want, because
right.
Virendra Sehwag was like that. He would just, you know, change things on his own and was very quick when he was playing. And you were somebody like that. And you can allow yourself some time. Of course, I wanted to finish things quicker, but I also went through a lot of your cementing quizzes that actually helped me understand your way of doing things because you thrive when in momentum. That's what I realized. And you take your time initially to just settle down a little, but once you get settled, once you get that momentum, it's just then formalities for somebody like you. And we
Yeah.
got on a call. You were so stressed out. I told you that, Parul, you are at a 760. Believe, forget 750. You are at a 760. I believe in you. You just need to trust yourself. Uh, so that 720 demotivated you? Were you scared or what was it?
Um, so again, it was not expected. It was just one day before the D day.
Yeah.
So I did panic, of course.
Yes.
And then we got on that call. And I think that encouragement really helped me. So I already knew that I had the ability because I had been taking official GMAT mock tests also, and I was getting a
Right.
780 and a 760 over there.
Right.
So this time I was confident in my abilities. I think there was just like a little bit of pressure over here or there. And yeah, you're right. I mean, yes, your encouragement and your exhaustive analysis of me, of my exam taking ways, or how I was approaching the GMAT, and even the part where I had to warm up before I could
Yeah.
get into momentum, that really helped me a lot on the D-Day. After your call, I also went online and I looked up like a few, because you had given me that example, right? So I also went online, I looked up like a few stories online and I read about this person who had scored a 700 or actually a 670 on their Manhattan prep just one day before the exam, and then they got
Right.
a 760. So
Yeah.
all of these things sort of helped me build my confidence back up, which was really important because I think that was the only thing that was stopping me from getting to my dream score.
Yeah.
So yeah, so before the D-Day, I followed your advice. I did SC questions. I took verbal first and then quant later. And then yeah, I solved like 10 to 12 SC questions as a warm-up before I went there. And I was able to get a
Wow.
V44. So that was amazing. That was
Yeah.
really nice. I think even in quant, so the quant section, I've been getting Q51 mostly beforehand, or a Q50.
Right.
And I think the set of questions, I don't know, I just found it a little more difficult because I sort of spent more time on the first five questions
Okay.
than I should have. But then I just remembered you telling me that I can make up for quant, and my quant strategy,
Yeah.
my quant abilities are really good. And I was able to get a Q50 in the end, which was really unexpected. And I think I told you that after my exam also, that I thought I'm
Yes.
getting a Q49 once again.
And I also told you that I am not shocked, Parul, because this was expected. Come on. I think you set high standards for yourself. You strive for perfection. Of course, it puts additional pressure on you, but I think your shoulders are pretty strong to actually take care of those expectations, because honestly, I have not seen a lot of people. I see people crumbling under pressure that they put on their own selves. But I think probably this is something that gets the best out of you. And that is what everyone should do, to figure out what gets the best out of me. If it is putting pressure on myself and you have those strong shoulders to handle the pressure, then fine. If not, then don't put pressure, just stay calm. Whatever works for you
Yeah,
is what you should do, right? So Parul, now come to the third part of the journey, the D-Day, right? A lot of decisions have to go right on that very day
right.
for everything to fall in place. So recently I did an interview with a student. Uh, Lalit Mohan is the name. This guy would always do verbal first and then quant, because he was an engineer and he believed that verbal needs a fresh mind. Quant I can do whenever I want, in whatever state of mind. And that day he says I had severe headache. So he had been following the strategy of verbal first and then quant throughout his mock stages. On that day he changed the strategy because he had headache. He thought, look, verbal with headache may backfire. Quant I can do in any state of mind. Let me do quant first. And he says, while doing quant, engineers love math, right? So he was happy while he was doing quant, and he did score a Q49 in a better state of mind. It would have surely been a Q50, but a Q49. But that relieved him of his headache, and then he was fresh for the verbal part. He scored a V40 or a V42, I think, and he scored a 720. That was his target score. So these strategies play a huge part. What did you do? Was there anything that you had to do, any decision making on that very day that you believed propelled your score probably from a 740, 750 to a 760?
Yes. So I had experimented with verbal first, quant later, and quant first and verbal later. But I think
Right,
after the talk, we had a discussion about this
right,
strategy also, and you had recommended that I do verbal first and quant
right,
later. So I was just sort of following that method only, and that is what I was doing. And on the last day, I think I mentioned that like I need some warm up before I'm able to get into the group for verbal.
right,
So you mentioned that I do 10 SE questions before I go.
right,
And I just followed that strategy only because I wanted to hit verbal with a very fresh mind. And I had, like, I understand. I think he took a very good decision, that
yes,
person, on that day, taking into account what his feelings, what his mental
yes.
state was on that day. But I had slept and I was like very fresh. So I decided to go ahead with verbal first and then quant later, because even I felt that I could do quant easily. And I felt that if I was sufficiently warmed up with verbal, I could just power through questions more easily, even in quant.
Right.
So I just followed V, Q, IR, and AWO.
Okay. Finally, the 760 happened, and now, of course, has the feeling sunk in, or still on cloud nine? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy because it's been like a long journey. It's been a
I
personal
know.
journey also.
Yeah,
I think GMAT takes a lot of, demands a lot from you,
demands a lot.
like, not just in terms of your abilities in verbal and quant, but maybe also helps you,
As a
like,
whole,
tackle challenges. Sorry?
yeah.
Yeah,
As a
yeah,
whole, it demands a lot. Every
yeah, it
part of your
does.
life, personal, professional, the GMAT part, it demands a lot. And
Correct.
because when it rewards you like this, you forget the pain, right?
Right, right.
Right. So it's been a while, and you also have submitted your applications. I believe you have a few more.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like,
Right. So we just spoke yesterday, and you said that you made a minor mistake in the application process. Would you like to just mention it here so that others don't?
Um, so I have a very demanding professional life right now. So
Okay.
I think it's a bit difficult to balance both things together, because quarter three is also very hectic for us and we have a lot of
Right.
deadlines going on. So because I'd already taken a few days off for my GMAT, I wanted to approach it with an undistracted mindset. I had a lot of work to do. So I was sort of balancing my applications and my professional life together. I was also working on the day that I submitted my application.
Right.
I think I made a minor mistake. I just mistyped a character while submitting my resume. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend that because that sort of messed up the timeline of professional things that I was trying to convey.
Right.
So I immediately sent them an email. But yeah, I would suggest like planning things out well and like approaching things with a very fresh mindset. And
Right.
yeah.
All right. So Parul, that's a lot that your journey would have given to the people who are watching this video. A lot of learnings, uh, a lot of good things that you mentioned about certain decisions that you made, about introspection, your dedication, your hard work, learning from your previous mistakes, and of course, in the end, not giving up and having faith, right? So I'm sure a lot of people are taking away a lot of learnings out of your journey, and will surely inspire a lot of people out there. And as I've said before, that this interview is pretty special for me because I have my first female guest, and that too with a 760. So this interview is pretty special. So thank you so much for doing this. I wish you all the best for your application process, and I'm sure you will be in touch with me because I would love to celebrate your success with you at every step, right? Whether it's application process is going through, getting an admit in your dream college, your career, wherever you pan out to be. Keep me posted. I would love to be happy with you in your success. And yeah, stay in touch.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dhruv. I would just mention that like you have been beyond a mentor for this process. You have built me up. You have helped me. You have never once questioned my ambition because a 740 is also a really good score. But you have like played a very, very big part over here. I don't think I would have done this without you. So
Oh, come on. You're making me cry now.
yeah.
Look, I was just doing my bit and I pushed myself because I could see that you were pushing yourself. And that is what motivates us. And because when I see that someone else is putting in so much efforts, I always have to be out of the field. My role is still there, but what you do on the D-Day is something defines the outcome. So yeah, it was a good journey together, a memorable one for sure. So yeah, all the best, Parul. Do well on the applications. Don't make the minor mistake again in the next application. Okay. So yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this video till the end. And I wish you all the best as well. Let us know if you face any issues. We'll be there to help you. Thank you so much, Parul. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.